What's going on, guys? Absolutely crazy long time no see. Today's date is July 18th, 2016. I want to say our last show was in 2014. Uh, you are watching Tech Habit Weekly. This is episode 30. With me, as usual, here is Mr. Dante Harris, KC Nightmare himself. Dante, how the heck are you?
Well, fresh out of parole. No, I'm joking. It's been a long time. It's crazy to be back. I'm not really in the swing of things exactly. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's funny because I've kept up with you the whole time.
Oh,
It's
yeah, and
just yeah,
likewise.
right, right. It's not like we just shut each other off and didn't speak to each other or anything like that. We get a lot of GTA 5 and stuff, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's good to be back.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been wanting to bring the show back for quite some time, and our schedules are just insane right now. It's a miracle that we're still alive, but it's all good things. We're busy in good ways, like not in parole, like was hinted at earlier. But so we are back today with episode 30. Going forward, I do have a little straw poll here for you guys just to take a look at. And this is something regarding the show. And it's, do you prefer watching Tech Habit Weekly on YouTube or twitch.tv? I bring this up because just today, you might, if you're watching live, this is actually on Twitch. The recorded version will be on YouTube. So if you're watching that, thank you. But we've had problems with YouTube in the past. Throughout the history of this entire show, we've had problems with YouTube. And I've always kind of looked at Twitch, but there's not as much of an audience on Twitch, at least for me. Everyone that knows me by YouTube. So therefore, there's 30,000 people that get the notification on YouTube, whereas on Twitch, it's like 10 people. So I like to continue to do it on YouTube, but I've always been kind of curious, and this is the first time I've ever actually asked you guys, do you prefer watching the show on Twitch or on YouTube or another service, or could you not care less? Please take just a few seconds and vote. If you're watching the live version, I'll go ahead and I'll put a link to this in the live chat. But if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description, so please vote there just so we can try to just get more of a grip on what you guys think and where you guys prefer to watch the show. It would definitely be helpful. So that out of the way, like I said, please feel free to vote. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started today. And the way that we're going to be doing Tech Habit Weekly from now on, it's very, very, very much the same, just a little tweak. We kind of broke the show into segments, so it's not just straight tech news the whole time. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with, I'm sure you could predict, the news of the week. Now, instead of having like 10 stories, we're going to break it down to like 2 or 3 every week just as part of that section. So Dante, without further ado, could you please kick us off with MSI's tiny Vortex gaming PC takes on Apple's Mac Pro. So those of you in the chat before the show, this is what I was kind of talking about here with I was talking about this Mac Pro. Overall, Dante, what do you think they're going for here, and do you think it's a good idea?
What they're going for is, I would honestly say, the answer to what the 2013 Mac Pro should have been. Like you said before, in previous conversations, previous episodes of Tech Habit Weekly, the 2013 Mac Pro is a very powerful workstation. I just felt like Apple was still kind of pulling back on the reins and not really letting the 2013 Mac Pro just run and just destroy the competition that's out there. I feel like MSI is going more to those gamers that want something that's going to be smaller form factor. As you know, more and more people are using larger and larger monitors that are taking up more desk space. So MSI's Vortex machine is actually a smaller form factor, just like the 2013 Apple Mac Pro. Now, with this, they have incredible specs in this thing. I mean, we're talking desktop class quad core Intel Skylake, Core i7 processors, DDR4 RAM, and dual GTX 980 graphics card. It's ridiculous. One
Woo!
thing that they boast in the video there was, they said that other companies, clearly a jab at Apple, saying that they'll let you actually upgrade this architecture. They were even talking about actually downgrading, which was weird, talking about putting even some Haswell processors and things into that build as well. Now, also, you have to understand that the inside of this case wasn't shown, so I don't quite know what the inside of the architecture looks like
Yeah, it's a
yet. You
mystery.
know, so of course that's something that MSI is trying to keep secret, just so that we don't have any copycats just jump up, right away. So what I think is going to happen here is there's going to be a streamline of more PC manufacturers that are going to start making these smaller form factors extremely powerful machines, just like the 2013 Apple Mac Pro. And with this design from MSI, I mean, it looks really nice. I love the way the edges are and the top, and has it how it's not exactly just one solid shape. It doesn't look exactly stealth like the Mac Pro is, but it definitely looks, has some. I feel like a better color scheme. I mean, I like the all the black that's with the 2013 Mac Pro, but this
Hmm.
actually looks really nice. And it even have a red LED that comes down the front side of it and just looks really nice. What do you think is going to actually happen with this? I mean, because they're talking about Haswell E and Xeon processors possible. What do you feel is going to happen with this, Bob?
I feel that's kind of a direction that they have to go because I think a PC company making a product like this is kind of a direct shot at Mac Pro, saying, okay, we'll take you that form factor and raise you these specs. I think it's ultimately going to come to that because right now it is limited to a quad core Skylake processor, which is no slouch, but it sure isn't an 8 core Xeon like the Mac Pro boasts. I'm more, so I do think it will go that direction. I think eventually we will have more workstation grade hardware in there. Instead of a GTX 980, have dual quadros in there. That next professional level type card with a Xeon processor instead of an i7. I think it will go there. Now, the reason, like, I'm curious as to why they would do this, because when the Mac Pro came out, all the PC community would say is, Apple, for whatever reason, released this stupid, unupgradable little form factor machine that's completely proprietary. You can't really do much. And later, obviously, you could do the processor and the RAM and a few things like that, but nowhere near the level of expansion that a traditional PC enthusiast is used to. Why do you think that, despite all the criticism the Mac Pro got upon its launch, do you think a company like MSI would come out and take these shots at Apple and introduce like a similar form factor type of product? I mean, is there any particular reason you think that they would do something like that?
Well, for one, I feel like the 2013 Mac Pro is a cool case. I mean, it's a very cool form factor, and I think that there was a Japanese company. I'm not quite sure what the name of it. They actually made a form factor of that case similar to it, where you can actually fit like a mini ITX motherboard in. And I don't know how well it worked. I mean, it was fairly cheap on eBay, so I didn't really read any reviews or anything like it. But people want to kind of emulate that, and I feel like if these PC makers can get the form factor into the way to where it's more expandable and easier to take apart and work on and things like that, that it'll definitely be a trend, because I feel like Apple came out of the gate with that and made it work pretty well for them. But there's some other things that are kind of pushing Apple back when it comes to the 2013 Mac Pro, as far as some compatibility issues and things like that, that we've
Mm-hmm.
talked spoke about before. But with this, I feel like it's just going to go even further. Like, I have a Windows file server that was just in a standard ATX case, even though it was a micro ATX board, and I actually just downsized it into a very small form factor server case. And it's just one of those things. It was a space issue basically, and I feel like more and more people have more things on their desk nowadays. Either it's laptops or extra displays and different things like that, and having this form factor to be able to save desk space and still be very powerful. Most people feel that very powerful machines have to be gigantic in
Yeah.
size, such as, like, I don't know, a Cooler Master Cosmos case or something like that. It's just huge. And with something like this, and that you can get this really good performance out of something that is just a fraction of the size, I feel like that's a good buy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, I really do think that it's a good. It's always good to see like a company like MSI, a gaming PC or gaming kind of manufacturer, make this kind of move, because it does drive the industry forward. It's something new. It's something different. I personally think that it's kind of a shot at Apple's Mac Pro. Like I said, I would love to see more enterprise level hardware in here. And this thing starts at, I want to say, $2,000 for, I think it's dual GTX 950s or 960s, which definitely are no slouches of cards. Perfect for gaming. If you want to go the extra mile and you use applications, say like Premiere and After Effects, that you really utilize those CUDA cores and really want to do like 4K gaming, then that's where you'd want to go for the $3,000 option, which I believe the only difference is the GTX 980 Ti's. There's two of those in SLI in there. So I think it's a really neat tower, but for that hardware, and it really purely depends on the type of user you are. For $3,000, you can get the quad core Skylake, 64 gigs of RAM, dual 980 Ti's. For $3,000 on the Apple side, you get the quad core Xeon. I think it's only 16 gigs of RAM, and you get like the baseline, I want to say 2 or 3 gig dual Fire Pro cards, which if you are at all into an Adobe workflow, you will not see any benefit of. It's a huge problem with the video industry right now. Is Final Cut's not too widely adopted, so having the Mac Pro be AMD only, I think, is a big concern. If they would just sign away a contract with NVIDIA and offer both an AMD and an NVIDIA option when using the Mac Pro, I think that would double the sales automatically right there. But so, like I said, it comes down to the kind of user you are. If you would rather have, maybe for whatever reason, less RAM but an AMD chip, then go ahead and spend that $3,000 on the Mac side, which can also run Windows, or you could spend the $3,000 side and get some more RAM. I would say slightly less of a processor and a complete different graphics, and go with the NVIDIA side and get that hardware from the MSI side. It really depends on the kind of user you are, but feel free to let us know what you guys think about this MSI Vortex computer down below in the comments, because it is definitely quite an interesting leap forward, and I would say a very interesting choice from a company such as MSI to take on something like the Mac
And then
Pro
look
form
at and
factor.
then look at the other competition that's in that market as far as that form factor. I mean, even in the video, the guy even said, the other guys, and just like Apple. I mean, that person wasn't comparing it to anyone else. So this is a direct jab at Apple. So we'll see if other manufacturers will come out of the woodwork with their architectures that are going to be similar to this design.
Absolutely. So yeah, be sure to let us know what you guys think down below in the comments. And we're going to segue right on over to our next and last news story of the day. And this is that Microsoft says that new processors will only work with Windows 10, starting with Skylake, starting with processors that are already out. Dante, what do you make of this?
Basically, I feel like this is this is Microsoft way, I feel, to keep people on that Windows 10 and up as far as when you're buying new architecture. So with the times of technology that's happening right now, and like you said, with the newest Intel processors being out right now, it kind of prevents a person from buying, a let's say, on Sandy Bridge Core i3 or something running Windows 10, because of the support that Windows is trying to have as far as the architecture with the processors and everything. Now, what now this is not saying that Microsoft is going to stop supporting, Windows 7 and things and
Mm-hmm.
Windows 8. No, it's just I think they're trying to just keep the architecture going forward, and maybe it's because some of the newer updates are going to actually take advantage of some of the technologies in this newer technologies versus in the older technologies, and it may be just for stability issues. I don't know. What do you think your take is on having, sticking basically with Skylake as the minimum requirement, which is weird because typically the minimum requirements was something like pretty old, not something so new, to run Windows 10 going forward. What do you feel Microsoft is planning on doing with that?
I'm looking at the article here. It looks like they do plan to still support, later generation processors up to a certain point. Basically, what it comes down to is you have, I think the article says 18 months from now to, basically stick on this architecture like the Skylake or older, and they'll release updates until January 14th, 2020. But after that point is when they're going to completely. Or, I'm sorry, this is a different day. I think it's until 2017. There's a date in 2017 here that they will still continue to release updates for Haswell and Ivy Bridge and stuff for Windows 7 and Windows 8.1. But after that point is going to be the axe. And I mean, I think there are good reasons for it. I mean, you can't support an architecture forever, and the longer that you do support something, the longer that the more manpower it takes to keep updating new drivers and updating new just everything that comes with that. I'm not a chip developer, so I'm not exactly sure, what all goes into that, but I know it's a ton of work, and it takes up more space in the OS to have to support more hardware. We kind of see that with OS 10, how it doesn't have a lot of support, for those of you in the Hackintosh community. The OS is like 10 gigs on a clean install, whereas Windows is like 20. But look at the wide range of hardware that Windows does support out of the box, whereas OS 10 is a lot more restricted. So if you start phasing out, different or like older iterations, you could save a lot of space in the OS that way too. So overall, I think it's good for everybody. Now, my next question, Dante, is we both work in IT, in a more of an enterprise environment. What do you make of that? I mean, I'm not sure if where you work has any kind of plans to do a massive upgrade to 10 and anytime soon, but if they did, they may want to reconsider that.
Right, especially with the news that broke here with this article. We're right now actually running, I believe, fifth gen Intel processors on most of our machines, and so it looks like we'll be okay for now. But with this news, that's definitely going to change the game, and I don't think this is going to be one of those things like if you've got a Sandy Bridge or an Ivy Bridge machine that as soon as that date hits, it's just going to black screen out and you're done. I think this is more of, hey, we're not going to be putting out, maybe with some security updates and things like that, to those other architecture or something like that. Because I mean, that would have to be kind of clearly stated if it's just, you're on your machine one day and then it hits the deadline and boom, and it's over. I'm sure it's not going to go that way. But I think also what they're trying to do is push sales as well, because Microsoft, of course, has deals with different processing architectures, AMD and Intel as well, so that they can get their products out there. Since Microsoft is a more of a licensing company
Mm-hmm.
and a software company, this actually makes sense, and then it helps get some of those newer processors out by these by AMD and Intel. So I don't know. That's something that I'm definitely going to have to, speak with our IT director about and see if he knows anything about this, and we'll get more information about this as it comes along. But, that does kind of make the market a little bit scary, especially when there's hardware right now that's, quite a bit older that can actually run Windows 10 just fine. So, I mean, even in your job, Bob, I mean, how do you feel that'll affect your job?
I mean, there have been talks, at least where I work, about upgrading to Windows 10. Not that it was going to happen tonight or tomorrow or next month or even the month after that. I mean, it definitely would be a slower kind of rollout. Even machines now that come with Windows 8.1 on them, we have the company that we get them from put our standard image on it, which is Windows 7 Enterprise. It's not like the machines, the OS that the machines that we get come with stays on there because we roll back anyway. But I mean, Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, I mean, when you're working in enterprise in an IT department, things have to be easy because the users will find a way to mess things up, or you'll find that most people that, say they're in their 40s or 50s and they're part of the workforce, they're not really too familiar with computers. So most people, I think, their PCs at home are Windows 7 or even Macs. If they come in and try to use Windows 8, Windows 8.1, it's not going to work, which is why most enterprise environments don't use it. They're pretty much everyone's sticking with 7. Now that 10's here, I feel that, give it maybe a couple months. If these computers that we get start coming with 10, we'd probably start to be okay with just letting 10 stay and look into further licensing and things like that. So it's hard to say how it's going to work for the enterprise with things like this. I know we're still buying laptops that have 3-4 year warranties on them, and according to this, that hardware support will be ruled out by then. So if we want to make the upgrade to 10, then all the models that we're getting now are going to have to be out the door before their end of life period really hits. So it's definitely it's not optimal, I would like to
Hmm.
say, because I think more as Windows 10 gets more and more popular and more people are using it, more people are liking it, Dante and I included. um, I think enterprises are going to want to make that jump just so they have the latest from Microsoft, which includes the latest fixes or vulnerability fixes and things like that. So I think honestly this is more of a knife in the heart, I guess I'll say, to enterprise customers, more of a blessing or not even in disguise, just a blessing for hardware manufacturers.
Right.
Not even just Intel for getting the chips out there and everything, but I mean HP, Lenovo, all these companies that use the newer architectures and come, with Windows 10 bundled in and everything. It gives enterprise users more of an incentive to want to upgrade to new hardware, which is good for them. They'll make as many as will take. So I think overall it's not quite as good for enterprise, but at the same time, I do understand why Microsoft is doing it. So that's just my thoughts on it. Unless you have anything to add, Dante, I think we'll go ahead and move on.
I'm good to go.
Good to go. All right, I like it. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to move on to our next segment here, and this is called Say What? And this is if we find an article or something that really makes us just say that right there to ourselves, we're going to show you guys. And this is going to be, I'm sure most of you guys have seen this, but it's pretty insane. This comes from our way of LTT, or Linus Tech Tips. Like I said, most of you guys have probably seen this. This video has raked in well over 2 million views already, which is nuts. This is 7 gamers, 1 CPU. And basically what this is I mean, it's technically 2 CPUs. It's more like 7 gamers, 1 tower. But Linus here, I'm sure you all know Linus, he has managed to squeeze 7 virtual machines with very, very comparable specs to any modern gaming PC into 1 tower. So we're talking these virtual machines have, I want to say 32 gigabytes of RAM, 4 cores, 8 threads. It's just absolutely insane. They all each have a dedicated GPU. Dante, what are your thoughts on this monstrosity?
I would like to figure out where I could get one.
Yeah, would be nice.
Preferably sponsored. And I mean, the horsepower under the hood of that machine is ridiculous. I mean, with the water cooling and everything, and just the custom block and the modular case that he had to find that was just large enough to be able to house all the hardware was just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you guys kind of see for yourself if you haven't seen it, but it's an absolute beast of a machine. I mean, it is nothing light at all. I mean, I'm surprised it actually worked stable.
Yeah, that's the shocker, is that it's actually
Right,
stable.
right. And the board that he has is it's just ridiculous. Because I thought he was using dual E5s, right?
Yeah, dual
E3s.
E5 2697, 14
Yes.
cores each
Yes.
CPUs.
So that's 56 cores altogether. Is
Yeah,
that
yep,
correct? Yeah.
yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely not your run-of-the-mill computer. This computer, according to him, costs about $30,000. So, the cost of a pretty darn good brand new car.
Yeah.
If you have that money laying around, you could go ahead and build yourself like a really crazy virtualized gaming PC. But 256 gigabytes, sorry, of DDR4 ECC RAM inside this thing. There's 7 PCI slots on the motherboard, all of which are populated with AMD R9 Nanos, which I think those have, 4 gigs of
I
video
think 4
RAM
gigs
each.
on it. Yeah.
Just insane. I mean, in each one of these VMs, like I said, has pretty much the equivalent hardware of our typical gaming PC. And the software he uses to do all this is Unraid. So that just gets installed right to the local box, and you just create your VMs from there. And it's cool because it uses the physical hardware. So it's not like you're going in the software and creating like a virtual CPU. No, it goes right to the
Right.
metal. It's the type of hypervisor that it'll do that, go right to the metal. So the performance of this, needless to say, is absolutely awesome. And he even demonstrated this, I want to say, with 34-inch, like 34 something by 1080 monitor, so like a really ultra wide monitor on each VM, and it's butter smooth, 80 to 100 frames per second on Crysis 3 on each VM. It's just absolutely insane. And I know a lot of you guys are probably saying, why would you do this? They're going to throw out the who, why, what, when, where, how questions. But honestly, this is more of just saying, this is possible. We do have the technology. I mean, you could build like 32 gig of RAM, quad core i7 processor, each machine for like $1,500, give or take. $1,500 times 7 is way less than $30,000. So this isn't like the most practical build in the world. But again, it's just saying that we have the technology, and this is a story that definitely made both of us say what?
Right.
So
The first time, when I'm watching it, I'm just like, the
yeah, you're just
entire
kind of
time, 'cause I'm
drooling.
just like, there's wow.
Yeah.
It's really, really crazy. Just to house how big the board and everything was to fit, and there was other cases he could have went with, but he has, just the case alone is $400 of the
Yeah.
build,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's
Yeah.
got 32 gig DIMMs, so it's like ridiculous. My whole machine has 32 gigs,
Yep, and he has
It's
that
like
in one RAM stick.
one RAM stick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
So,
disgusting.
yeah.
So, but yeah, that's just a little quick story that made us say what?
It's like, what?
Linus, you deserve even more than 2.3 million views on that, which I'm sure you will get over time, but definitely a crazy feat of consumer computing. To have that just in your house in 1 tower is, I would say, unthinkable even just a couple years ago. So props to you for taking the initiative and custom liquid cooling the whole thing, getting custom blocks from the manufacturers. That's a heck of a process. So
Yeah.
props to you for sure.
Awesome.
So we're going to move on to our next little segment here. This one being called The Great Debate. So we're going to pick a controversial kind of topic that, and I'm sure you've all heard of this one. And part of this is going to be with a straw pull. So let's go ahead and I'll just show you guys that really quick here. The straw pull rather, and this is about the iPhone 7 headphone jack. Is it a good idea for Apple to remove the headphone jack in the next iPhone? So I have three choices here. We have yes, get that thing out of there. No, why do you have to mess with things? Or I don't care, Android all the way. So Dante, which side of this argument would you like to take?
Hmm. Just because I know Apple, I'm gonna go with get that thing out of here.
Okay. So I'll then, at that point, then I'll say, no, why do you have to mess with things? So I guess I'll go ahead and kick it off. Why would you, and I don't necessarily agree with this, by the way, but just my side of the argument here, why would you take out the headphone jack? Because these headphones here, the ear pods I got when I bought last year's iPhone, none of that stuff is going to work now. And I know Apple, sell me a $40 adapter. That's going to be the fix, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be clumsy, and then I'm going to lose it, and then I'm going to have to buy two, and then when I buy the next one, I'm going to find the other one, but I can't return this one I just bought. So now I'm out $80 for something that should just be included in the phone. I think that's going to be most of the arguments, and I do understand that. So now, Dante, come back with the rebuttal.
Okay. I say let's get that thing out of here. And same thing with you. I don't exactly agree with this. I just wanted to take this particular side. And because, like I said, we know Apple.
Yeah.
Apple wants things to be as proprietary as they can while still being functional enough for people to buy it. I feel like Apple's stock and their architecture and everything is on a very big rise as of late. And doing this is just one more thing that sets them aside to say, hey, guess what? People like our product so much they will buy our headphones or they will buy our adapter for our headphones. As another thing, this is just an iPhone 6 Plus, but as you can see where the headphone port is, I mean, there's quite a bit of space there
Mm-hmm.
where it actually takes up. And if everything was centralized to one port, kind of like the form factor, what they're going in with the new 12-inch MacBook, with everything going down to the one port, it does make sense. There's also some other capabilities by having your phone power devices, things like that, like with the headphone. Well, I'm sorry, with the lightning port or the USB-C, whatever they plan on doing. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do there. I feel that Apple wants to do is, like I said, same thing with the USB-C and things like that. And Apple's not the first, they're not the only people that have USB-C by far. But
Yeah.
that architecture and dedicating and say, hey, this is going to be your port for everything, I can definitely see that because now there's less third party stuff out there. And if it is third party stuff, you're going to have to get that, Apple adapter to
Uh-huh.
make everything work. So I say get that thing out of there. Maybe they're trying to fit more room for battery. Battery's a huge deal now with
Oh, yeah.
smartphones and tablets and things like that. We're a society that's always on the go. We always need our battery life. We're watching more videos. We're doing more things on social media, more selfies and sending data and things like that. I mean, even down to your cell phone plan. Pretty much, we're all just paying for data. No one cares about talking and texting anymore. You're paying for data.
Yeah.
So with this, I can definitely see Apple doing this. And will it be a good thing? Not sure yet. But like you said, we'll find out when we all start buying $40 adapters to get our, you know, audio technica headphones to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do you guys think down in the comments though? Do you feel like this is a good thing that Apple's going to do? Do you feel like it's a bad thing, or are you just going to say, you know what, I'm going to stick with the last form factor that Apple had, an actual, legit headphone port, a headphone jack, if that's what they're going to do going forward? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely let us know down below in the comments. And so just to get away from the debate, because like I said, I didn't really necessarily agree with the side I took. I'm definitely on the side of yes, get that thing out of there, because that's what Apple does. I mean,
Mhm.
looking back, they're the ones that get rid of the floppy. They're the ones that didn't include a CD drive in the MacBooks. Now they're going down to one port with USB-C on the latest MacBook 12-inch. So it's just what Apple does. I mean, they're that company that will tick off a few people, actually a lot of people, and just say, you know what, this is better, you'll get over it. And
Mhm.
of course, people just kind of tend to do over time. So I think their main reasoning here is because if you were to look inside this phone, let me full screen myself here. If you were to look inside this phone, the headphone jack here probably goes up to about a little bit, like maybe slightly below the bezel, the bottom bezel. So it's a lot of space inside the phone, which they could fit other things. Also, I think it'd be cool because in every device that is digital, there's what's called a DAC in the headphone jack, which is a digital to analog converter. So it basically makes the bits that you hear, or that consists of, say, an MP3, and make it hearable by a human ear. So I think now what Apple's going to do, and this is kind of just me spitballing here, not that I'm sure that they'll do this, but now that they've bought Beats, this may be a good opportunity, and Apple wouldn't be the first one to do this, but they can actually move the DAC instead of being in the phone into the headphones that you buy. So if you want your music, if you're an audiophile, and you don't have to worry about being limited by the really tinny or whatever, the crappy, we'll say, DAC that's inside the phone if the DAC is in your headphones. So you can have a pair of headphones that you know are going to be good and plug them into anywhere, and it's not going to degrade your audio experience if you're an audiophile. Or if you're someone that's kind of like me, as long as it's like above 128 kilobits per second, it sounds fine. I mean, I'm not really too picky about my music, so then you can just get a cheap pair of headphones, plug it in, and then that DAC on there will take care of that for you. So I think that's a pretty big benefit, is that, if you're a real true audiophile that you don't blink at spending a couple hundred bucks on a set of headphones, you could plug those into an iPhone and have the same experience as you could have if you plugged them in, like, a high-end stereo. So I think that'd be a pretty cool benefit. Also, I think that, say for example, if you do end up having to use the lightning port here to plug in some headphones, if you have an adapter, or even if it's just native, lightning to headphones, you can now have, and that pushes the reason to have wireless charging like a lot of the Samsung phones are having nowadays. So it's more, I think, also to kind of keep up in that arena as well. So Dante, do you agree with any of those things?
I do. I agree actually with every one of those points. I mean, and then you guys have to realize, I mean, with the world we live in now, and we can get every adapter known to man. I mean, there was a picture there of the article that actually had the lightning connector in and then the headphone jack in. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually made that particular cable, and then you get a dual female in and plug your standard headphones into that piece that goes into the lightning port. I mean, it's just something like that. I could see actually, having a third-party adapter to have a lightning port that goes into your phone with 2 or 3, female lightning adapters, so you can plug in multiple devices. Yeah, will it get clunky? Yeah, but do you really want to use your, old stuff, or are you going to buy all the new stuff? I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now. I mean, even with the Bluetooth technology nowadays, where Bluetooth earbuds and headphones and things are getting a lot more popular. I can definitely see them going down to just the one port. I mean, Apple pretty much cannibalizes their own products anyway. They don't like to let other people do it for them. They do them themselves.
Yeah.
Same thing like coming out with a 12-inch MacBook, but also pretty much canning the 11-inch MacBook Air and still carrying a 13-inch MacBook Air. It's kind of like, so you can.
What's your goal here?
Exactly. I mean, it's really odd. Same thing with like the what is it? I'm sorry, I'm having like a mind blank. Anyway, iPad Mini to full size iPad to iPad Pro. It's kind of like, well, wait a minute. I'm sure they're going to still make the iPad Mini because it sells. I mean, it's the cheapest one. It sells like crazy. The middle one, I'm a little, I don't know. Maybe it's because, okay, I feel like I don't need that much horsepower. I mean, because that thing, the iPad Pro actually outperforms the newest Mac Mini.
Isn't that sad?
It's pretty sad. So, like I said, Apple has a characteristic of doing this again. So I don't know. I can definitely see it happening. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I mean, was that something you guys would like, to happen? Is that something you feel like that's just Apple's getting another cheap jab with, manufacturing third-party accessories, to be able to use with it? I mean, you guys let us know.
Yeah, and just by that little quick straw poll I did, not too many votes here or anything, but it's literally dead even. We had, only a total of 6 votes, but it's literally 2, 2, and 2. So it honestly, I feel, really could go either way. I'm not exactly sure, if Apple will do it or not, but there's rumors of a March event, so I guess we'll have to count down the days and we'll see what Apple plans to do. So, but yeah, definitely leave your thoughts down below in the comments, because we are eager to hear, what you guys want in the next iPhone. So I guess we'll find out. Not that Apple really cares either. I guess we're just going to get what we get.
Right. So. Hey, at least we'll have a better camera.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully. Knock on wood.
Hopefully. Right.
So we're going to jump over to our next segment here. We're going to go to killer deals. Now, we have just one killer deal of the week this week, and this is a Samsung 850 EVO 250 gig SSD. This guy is only, well, it could be yours for the low price of $87.99. this is ridiculous just because I look at it as a year, maybe 2 years ago, this was like $1.50 a gigabyte. So this you're
Mhm.
looking at, I mean, like 500-600 bucks probably for this identical drive, and now you can pick one up for less than $100. I mean, the highest capacity one that I have in my particular build is 240, but it's not a Samsung Evo. It's just one of like a Kingston drive, which I honestly think the drive build quality of those is better than the Samsung. But the speeds, if you look on this thing, are pretty much as good as you can get on SATA 3, which, again, for this price point is really something to note. 540 read, 520 write. I honestly think this is a great deal. Not that I think it's particularly going to go up in price anytime soon, but this is a great time to be buying solid states. Dante, do you have any experience with the 850 Evos?
I don't, but I do know a couple of people who actually have them, and they actually haven't had a problem with them. There was a bunch of reviews not too long ago, maybe about 6 months ago or so, saying that the Samsung product, when it comes to SSDs, aren't a very good product, and it was just one of those things I kind of just went, and I just kind of shied away from. But I'm doing the same thing as you. I actually have two Kingston SSD V300s,
Mm-hmm.
and I have like I said, the largest one I have is a 240, and I also have a 120. And like you said, I do like the build quality of the Kingston brand better. And I'm kind of just that guy. I mean, I like Kingston products when it comes to like flash drives and things. Like here's a brand new 64 gig, flash drive still in the package, things
Look at
like
that.
that. And it's just stuff like that. And but for what it is and what everything I've heard, I mean, I think they make a good product. And like you said, when you start getting to solid state storage and it's under $1 a gigabyte, I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
you're doing pretty good. I mean, in that department,
We're
it's
getting to
it's
the point where it's like less than 50 cents.
it's getting crazy. I mean, and then hopefully soon, the PCIe SSDs and things will start getting a little lower, which they will, especially with
Yeah.
different architecture like the M.2 and different things like that.
NVMe and
Exactly, taking over. That stuff is going to be very, 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 affordable for just the regular market. I remember just a few years ago, I mean, it was just ridiculous just to get like a
yeah,
128 SSD, and it was like,
three, four
you
hundred
know,
bucks.
exactly. So, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal, especially if anybody feels like, man, I've got good enough storage on my machine, but I really wish it would boot up faster. That'd be a perfect
Oh
choice
yeah.
to add, for less than $100. I mean, I'd buy it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think the most common thing I hear when it comes to SSDs is, I have this 2010 MacBook or I have this HP from 2011 that, it runs fine, but God, it boots slow. Or, God, if I have a couple applications open, the thing just chugs. If you throw it, and that's what I say every time, if you throw an SSD in there, it will feel like a new computer, despite it being 5, 6, 7 years old.
Right.
And that's the beauty of SSDs. Not that you'll be able to, it's not like a processor upgrade in that you could export a video, in half the time. But definitely just random, disk I/O and opening applications and stuff, boot up, shut down will just be so much faster that that's the absolute upgrade that I recommend every single person is don't upgrade anything else, even your RAM, until you get a solid state. Because most times your disk I/O is your bottleneck, not really your RAM.
Right.
Even if you go to Walmart nowadays, your computer has 8 gigs of RAM. But most times it's like a 5400 or 7200 RPM hard drive, so you're going to run out of disk I/O before you run out of RAM. So that's just our little deal of the week here. Nothing too crazy. I'm sure most of you guys nowadays have actually made the jump to an SSD. But if you have a 120 and you're running out of space, or if you just want to go make the jump from hard drive to solid state, go to Amazon. If you have Prime, you'll get it in 2 days, and your life will be very good. So that's just our quick little deal of the week. And getting down to our last segment, this is one that I'm sure you've all been waiting for. This is going to be our tech treats of the week. This has not
Awesome.
gone anywhere. So Dante, give us your tech treat.
My tech tree is actually something that's not very new, but something that's new to me. Um, I'm just like anybody. More than likely, you guys like having some sort of a media streaming device, whether it be a Roku, Apple TV, something like that, Fire Stick, anything like that. Well, my go-to one, besides the Apple, I do have an Apple TV third gen, was the Raspberry Pi 2.
Look at that.
Now, it's kind of hard to see because of the acrylic, but this is a very, very, very nice product. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I'm sure most of you have, but it's just a $35 machine. I mean, this is the full computer. As you can see, it's got four USB ports on it and a full size NIC, full size HDMI and audio out, and then it takes a micro USB adapter that most like Samsung phones and HTC phones come with to power it. It's very low power, no noise. It doesn't get hot or anything. It does have these three heat sinks for it on it, and the specs of it, it's just a 1 gigahertz ARM processor. With a gig of RAM, and it works very well. I use Kodi on it to run my media
Okay.
server, and what I do is I have a network attached storage as well, and that's where I told it to point to my file share. So basically, while I'm in the house, I can stream all my movies from pretty much anywhere in almost any format. I liked it so much that I ended up buying another one, but this time I got the Raspberry Pi Zero. As you guys probably
Oh.
know, this thing was like really highly sought after, when it first launched. That's the Zero. And then just to give you a taste of the form factor and size of difference in this thing, I mean, look how thick this is, look how
Yeah.
thin that one is. Yes, these are both in
Wow.
acrylic cases, but this here is really nice. I mean, it has the same processor, but just half the memory on it. It's got 512 shared memory on it, with the video. I have a 8 gigabyte micro SD card in it, and I've seen people put like 128 gigs if they want local storage, but most
Mm-hmm.
of my storage is done over network share, so I don't have anything on it besides like the OS pretty much. On this one, I'm running a little lighter OS. I'm running OSMC on it, and that's the open source media center. On here, I'm running just a full fledged Kodi, and this one has a 16 gig micro SD card on it because I have it triple booted. I have it with the with Raspbian desktop OS. I have RetroPie for gaming, and then also Kodi for, of course, for the media streaming device on it. Now the thing is, with the full size HDMI that's going to be on your Raspberry Pi 2, it's cool because well, almost everybody has a HDMI cable. Bad thing is about the Raspberry Pi Zero, it has the mini
Gotcha.
HDMI. But I was in luck because my um, recorder, my video recorder, my camcorder that I use for my YouTube videos actually came with a mini HDMI cable to a full size female HDMI,
There you go.
port. So that was awesome. And then another thing that I had just laying around, I bought this a long time ago and I messed up. I bought it off eBay. Was a mini HDMI to full size. So I've got that. Now you probably guys are probably wondering, okay, look, I've got USB ports here on the Raspberry Pi 2. How are you going to use it with the Raspberry Pi Zero with just the two mini USB ports, and one is dedicated for power? What I've done was I went to eBay and bought this adapter for about, I think it was like $2.12. It's a mini USB to full size female USB
There you
port,
go.
and what I've done was I put it inside the USB on this end of the Raspberry Pi Zero, and here, and you're like, well, okay, well, that's just one port. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But what I did was I attached a Belkin 4-port USB hub to the Raspberry Pi Zero, which goes into here. And the cool thing about this particular hub is the size of the hub is pretty small. It's about the same size as a
As the pie
Raspberry Pi
itself.
Zero. Yes. So only thing I have plugged into it is a very, very cheap, just 150 megabits, 802.11n Wi-Fi dongle. I mean, really small. You got to be kind of careful about the placement of where your router and your Wi-Fi range. On my Airport Extreme, sometimes it gets a little spotty because the dongle is so small, but there's some larger ones that are like the size of flash drives that actually have better range. But I can tell you that that thing works really, really well. I've watched movies front to back, on that less powerful machine. The biggest difference you'll have between the Pi 2 and the Pi Zero is that loading takes a little bit
Oh
longer
yeah.
on the Zero than it does. I mean, this is more of a more powerful machine. It's probably more go to. But if you just want to get your bang for the buck, I just wanted to try it out. I mean, and this was a $5 machine. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
just
can't go wrong with that.
$5 for this. Um, a little bit of configuration, not much. I did a medium overclock on it just to get some better connectivity and some better performance out of it. It doesn't get hot. I don't have any heat sinks on the Zero, and it works very, very well. But I use both of these all the time. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys can see. there's a projector right here, an HDMI projector that I use this on and project into my wall that's right over here, and it projects about 70 inches, and I use this all the time, and it's seamless. And
Wow.
since it has a full size NIC, I have a switch that's a gigabit switch that's like right behind my, you can't see, but it's right behind my third left side monitor that I have it running straight into this and using
Right into
network
the
shares and
Switch.
everything. Oh yeah,
Yep.
it's awesome. So I recommend anybody who, if you feel like, okay, the Apple TV, the newest Apple TV that Bob actually does own, is a little too out of your price range, and you're just like, well, I'm just mostly, looking at my own stuff anyway. And if you just want a way to get to it, I would definitely go with the $5 Pi Zero or a $35, app or Pi 2, and it works really well. It's very easy to set up. Even a beginner, you can just, there's tons of tutorials out there
Oh yeah.
that you can set these up with.
They
You can
even
do a
have
ton of
like a,
different
a
things.
noob's image that just extracts and you're just good.
Yeah, yeah, yep. So, and it works very well. Like I said, it supports hubs. It actually supports port replicators and all that stuff. Like I have a port replicator sitting here
Hmm.
that from work that I plug just one USB in, and I got keyboard, mice, and like five other USB ports and wireless and everything just by plugging in one USB cable, and it works on this. I mean,
Yep.
works with pretty much everything. So that's, I mean, if you guys like it, I mean, there's guys they have Minecraft servers on these. There's people that have made, free NAS projects out of these. I mean, there's a ton of things you can look up.
And it's
Robotics,
$35.
programming, $35, and I was happy to buy it. Now the case, the acrylic case. I think I have the box here. Yeah, I do. I'm surprised I
Yeah, that
have
was
it.
my next question: is if it came with the case? Because
No,
I
it
have a
does.
first generation and it came with a case, but it's like not as transparent as that. It's kind of bulky.
Here's the case I got for mine, and this is Zebra Black Ice, and it works for the Pi 2 and the B Plus, and it was $14. And you can find these a lot cheaper online. I actually bought this in the same computer store where I got the Pi, so I was like,
Gotcha.
I'll spend a little bit more just to get it today. So, very good. It works very well. Like I said, even this one, it gets warm. It doesn't, and that's under heavy load. I mean, I'm streaming
Yeah.
10p full DVD rip. I mean, everything on this, and everyone knows you can probably do some of those repositories if people want to watch live free live TV, maybe in a different state or country or something like that, and that all works really well. And you guys can do a little more digging about that on your own time, but yeah, it's very good product. I love this thing, and it's not going anywhere, and I still use the Apple TV as well, so
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
it's just
have the new Apple TV. The thing's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes the Pi, I mean, obviously it's half the price, and
right,
it's just Apple. You can get apps from the App Store, which open it up a lot. But this, I mean, you could literally just install what the heck ever you want on
right,
it. It doesn't have to be a media server. That's a
right,
really great use for
exactly.
it. But you could do whatever you want. You could program on the thing. You could do whatever, and that's what makes them really cool. So for $35, you really can't go wrong. And what, $5 for the Zero?
Yep, $5 for the Zero. I think I paid another $6 for the acrylic case. You
Okay.
just build it yourself with the worst possible instructions ever,
Yeah.
and it works really good. I actually even did some digging. I kind of got this thing where I have like very weird cables and adapters. One day I was like, you know what? I'm tired of unplugging and plugging in the power cable. I wish they made an adapter with a switch. Well, they do, and I have one. And I have to unplug it, but yeah, it actually has a switch where you can just turn it on and off, and it works really well. Like I said, any charger, standard charger you've got laying around USB, with a wall charger in will work on this,
Yep.
and it's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
I've even powered mine with just like the little iPhone brick that comes with an iPhone and a
oh
micro
yeah,
USB cable. Works
yep,
beautifully. Even
yep.
not even an iPad one, even just the regular 500 milliamp iPhone one. Or is that one 1 amp? That one might be one
That one
amp.
might be 1 amp. Yeah, the other
Um,
one I think is 12
fine.
volts. On the iPad one, I do believe.
Yeah, I think so.
So
I think you're
yeah.
right. So
So, but yeah, awesome. Like I said, Raspberry Pi 2 and Raspberry Pi Zero. Check
very
them
good
out.
choices,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah, I got like I said, I have the first generation one, and even like I've had Cody on that one too, and even it's like how you said on Zero, how it just you're slower to load stuff. That's exactly how I am. So I'm considering getting a second one, but I don't use Cody too much at the moment since we got the
Mhm.
new Apple TV. So we'll see. But for $40, I might just say screw it. I'll just buy it
Right.
anyway.
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to fight $40. So,
Yes, and
but
real quick, Light 1319 was saying Rufus is a good program to
oh
use. And
yes,
yes, it is. I actually use that on when I'm on Windows. That's how I made everything. I did everything in Windows and made it bootable, and it was awesome. I mean, I got a little 2 gig flash drive that I
Hmm.
really don't have any use for, but I just keep booting OSs and stuff like my Linux distros and stuff on it, and it's really cool.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean,
so
Rufus is good for anything. You Windows images,
true.
VMware images, Raspberry Pis, like anything you could want Rufus for. It'll create a bootable, just about anything.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
and it's open source. It's free.
Yeah.
Just Google
Hmm.
it.
Yep. Just Google Rufus, and like you think Rufus would be on Google.
It'll autocomplete for you. Say like
Yep.
USB installer. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the one.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely very good tech treat, sir. And who was that in the chat that had the little Rufus tip?
That was Light 1319.
Props to you too, because that's a good little utility for first-time pyers, I guess you could call them. So just
Are
wrapping
they
up the show here.
pirates?
Yeah, very good. Just wrapping up the show with my tech treat. I actually recently just got a new Apple keyboard because I'm sure, as you may have known from the intro on the feed of today's podcast, I'm not sure if we had this in the actual show or if it was pre-show, but I'm definitely using Windows a lot more. And as I'm using Windows, there's a lot of things with a keyboard, like, and I'll get into this, but macros, the overall look and feel. I just kind of wanted a different keyboard than the Apple wireless one that I have, which is actually just right here. I still do use it because, like I said, I still boot into OS 10. I still use OS 10. My MacBook's right here; it's on right now. I still use OS 10. But when it came to me using Windows, I definitely wanted a different kind of keyboard experience for that. And not that I'm a huge gamer or anything, and when I do game, which is just pretty much GTA 5, I just use a PS3 controller. So the reason why I got this, considering it's a gaming keyboard, might kind of shock some of you, but I went out and I got it for my birthday. Is a Corsair gaming keyboard. It's the K95 full RGB backlit mechanical keyboard. This thing has been nothing less than just absolutely awesome. So when you get a mechanical keyboard, obviously it's not going to be like silent like the Apple keyboard is. That thing, it's like hard to hear. But let me just go ahead and type something. Let me move my mic down a little bit just for you to see about the sound, the great sound. I've learned to love the sound of the mechanical keyboard. So that's about what a mechanical keyboard sounds like. You definitely have that clacky, which 10 years ago it's like, dude, get a new keyboard. But I don't know what it is, but I honestly just really like the sound of a mechanical keyboard. But that's just one thing that you get with a mechanical keyboard, especially one like this. The keyboard here, I'll go ahead and I'll show you the page. It's definitely not cheap. For an Apple keyboard, a Bluetooth one, you're paying about $70. This one comes in at 150, which a lot of people that's gonna honestly be just some shock right there. You say, nope, no thanks, I'm not spending that much on a keyboard. But this isn't just a normal keyboard. Like I said, it has the full RGB coloring. So with every single key, you can adjust the color for. If I want the E key to be red and the F key to be purple, I can do that. There's also like little switches up here that you can do. There's 3 different modes you can have at any given time. So this is a custom one I made. The macro keys, which I'll get into in a second, over here, and the number pad are one color, which is like a green. The regular keys in the middle are blue. These other 2 come preloaded on it. There's like a rainfall kind of effect, and there's also like a RGB pinwheel sort of effect. But you can do anything you want on this thing. I mean, there's different ones that if you want to take the time, you can set up your own and have them do whatever you want. Like if you hit a key, say for example you type G, it'll ripple out from the G key and all the lights will change. I mean, you can really make this keyboard do anything you want. And it does come with some Corsair software, so I'll go ahead and I'll show you that. This is the Corsair software right here. So basically what this allows you to do is either assign custom lighting per key or per group of keys, and you can set up macros, which macros are really cool. I'm sure, Dante, you know what a macro is, but in case you're not familiar, macros, you can basically map key combinations on a single keystroke. So you can have, say, for example, a copy key, and you could just say, you know what, I'll do it for you guys live. We'll do it live. So I'll come in here to the actions menu, and we'll do new, and we'll say we'll make this copy, and I'll start recording, and I'll do Control C and stop. Now let's say, for example, I want to map that to my G12 key. You just go ahead and map it, and when you hit the G12 key on the keyboard, guess what? You'll copy text that you highlight, so you don't have to do Control C. That's a really basic one. That's only 2 keys, but you can map, opening up applications from a certain, like a certain place on your C drive. Just map it to an exe. When you hit that key, that program launches. Or you could even do really complicated. Maybe say, for example, you want to have it type a password or something. You could just type in your password. If I hit the
One
G8
key.
key, there's your password. And
That's awesome.
that's good for security, not necessarily for physical security. If you have a lot of people using your computer, don't map your password to your G8 key. But if you're the only one that uses your computer and you use one password where all your passwords are really complex and all that, you can just map them to a key. And as long as no one has physical access to your keyboard, your passwords are pretty safe, and it kind of gives you that convenience factor with those really complicated passwords. So a lot of great uses for the macros. You can do just about anything you put your mind to with them. The keyboard itself is very good quality. I mean, this thing is made, it is mostly plastic, but I mean, it's a very, very sturdy plastic. It's not going anywhere. There's a bunch of different functions on here. So up here is like a little volume slider. It's just kind of like a little, you just kind of make it, and the volume will adjust on the computer accordingly. Obviously, you have a mute switch, all your F10, F12, all your function keys up there. You can even adjust the brightness of the keyboard. So there's off, 1, 2, and 3, so you can make it as bright as you want. And I actually found that this actual Corsair program, though they don't make it for Mac OS X because it's a gaming keyboard, and most games are released only on Windows. But there is like a little open source program that some people have written, which lets this keyboard work on OS X. You literally just download an app, and it looks nothing like the Corsair software, but all the same functionality is there. You can program the lights to do different things. I don't think the macro keys are supported. That's the only thing in Mac OS X, but in Windows, the macro keys are great, and honestly, it's just a really good quality, solid keyboard that I just absolutely love typing on. I actually type faster than I do on my Apple keyboard. So this thing has been nothing but great, and I can definitely highly recommend it. So that's my tech treat for the week. One last thing before we close out here, guys. I just want to remind you for you guys to vote as to where you want to watch this show for the times that we do it. Tech Habit Weekly on YouTube or twitch.tv. Right now it is literally 50-50, right down the middle. So just and if you're watching this live or not live, if you're watching the recorded version, the link to this straw poll will be in the description. Let us know in the future. We're going to try to keep the show going forward on a Monday, but I mean, we really can't make any promises that the show will be every week or that we'll both be here every week. We do really want to keep the show going, and we hate that it's been so long since it has been, because we both really do enjoy doing the show. But there's just certain obligations in life that you just can't really get out of, and so it's definitely kind of hard to work around when you're at the point that we are in our life and our careers and just our age. Things are just hectic. So we do apologize if there's any shows that we miss coming up, but we will try to keep the show on a fairly regular basis. There might be some times where if we can't make it Monday, we'll do it Tuesday, but I would say more than likely if we can't do it Monday, we'll probably just skip the week. As much as we hate to do that, just sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So, right. Dontae, thank you very much for bringing it back with episode 30. Hope you had a good time.
All the time.
So yeah, so I guess that's pretty much it for the show. We will see you guys hopefully next week for episode 31. But of course, Mr. Casey Nightmare is at Casey Nightmare on Twitter. I'm at CPU Kid on Twitter, and so you can stay tuned there for updates. And please like the video; we definitely appreciate it. And we'll see you guys hopefully next week.